August 5th, 2020, again via Zoom. Ask for a moment of silence, and during that moment of silence, again, let us remember all those affected by this horrible virus and their families, and those on the front lines, the doctors, nurses, EMTs, police, fire, who fearlessly answer their call to duty every day. And also those everyday essential workers, the garbage collectors, the supermarket workers, the food servers, and our own township and administrative staff who keep our township running every day. Let us also support our local businesses, and most of all, let's treat everybody with respect. If we all will bow our heads right now. And join the board in a pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Lewis, any changes or additions to the agenda today?
There are no changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have no special actions that I know of. And I guess into public comment. Do we have any public comment that has been sent in?
Mr. Chairman, I have 5. Several are rather lengthy, so bear with me.
Sure, take your time.
First one is from Michael Curran, 13820 Bridge Road. We must state again how we feel betrayed by the Catholic Church in their proposed sale to Toll Brothers. As with all our neighbors, we bought our land and houses with the understanding that the land being developed would be forever a cemetery. We're requesting that the August 26th Board of Supervisors meeting be open for residents to be included on Zoom. Since the pandemic hit, I've been conducting meetings and classes regularly and never been infiltrated by outsiders. You can take the same precautions. This topic is critical enough that you should allow us access. We would like to state our position once again that Twining Bridge Road does not have the capacity for additional traffic that the development would bring. The egress should be changed to Route 413, where there's already a traffic light at North Drive. The plans could easily be altered to accommodate that change. As was stated at my many previous board meetings, people take their lives into their own hands as it is on Twining Bridge Road. We live on the bend nearest the proposed development and have to watch constantly for cars coming around the corner, many speeding, endangering our lives and the lives of our grandchildren. They get too close to the road. When I cut grass on the edge of the road, I have to be wary of the traffic so I don't get hit. The estimated additional 90 cars, 2 per household minimally, will overload the road even more than it is now. Notes from the previous board meetings include this development would take away all I bought into when I purchased my property and cause safety problems for everyone, said Joe McAtee, who lives on Twining Bridge Road. McAtee and other residents also objected to the proposed development having both access on Twining Bridge Road and the added traffic they said what it would mean for the road. Twining Bridge Road is already dangerous, one woman said. You can't walk on this street now without worrying whether you would be killed. At a previous Board of Supervisors meeting on the topic, my wife invited any interested parties to sit in our living room to watch the myriad of traffic from school buses, Bucks County Community College commuters, and others using Twining Bridge Road as a cut-through. Obviously, the pandemic has eliminated school traffic for now, but once the vaccine has been proving successful, the traffic will start again. In conclusion, we urge the board to open the Zoom meeting to residents on mute until comments from residents are permitted. You can control access and muting and unmuting. We additionally urge the board to restrict the egress from the toll development from Twining Bridge Road and move it to North Drive at the existing light. Next public comment is from Judith Russo, no address given. Hello, I suggest that traffic lights be installed at the intersection of Swamp and Twining Bridge Road and Twining Bridge Road and Durham Roads to accommodate the increased traffic and to prevent traffic accidents. These intersections are already hazardous, and more traffic will only increase the problem. The next comment is from Amy. Forgive me if I butcher the name. Pacapenisia, 18 Providence Court. Hello, can you please require Toll Brothers to address the horrible situation that is Twining Bridge Road? The road is extremely dangerous to turn off on both Swamp and 413. Since both Swamp and 413 do not have turning lanes, it is also makes it unsafe for us to turn onto Twining Bridge Road. I am frequently passed on the right awaiting a break in the traffic to go home. It also floods frequently with bad weather. These two things are terrible with the current families that live here. Adding 45 additional houses will make these safety issues even worse. Can you please require Toll Brothers to straighten Twining Bridge Road to allow it to connect to already created light across from the Newtown Grant neighborhood? Creating this will alleviate the 413 safety issue and will avoid traffic from flooded, dangerous curves. The intersection at Swamp Road is a separate issue, but allowing us to use a traffic light will significantly improve all our safety at one exit point. Next comment is from Frank McCarran. My name is Frank McCarran. My address is 42 Rittenhouse Circle, Newtown, PA. I was surprised to see a letter from the attorney for Toll Brothers posted on the township website indicating that you intend to render a decision on a Twining Bridge conditional use variance, as I had understood that Toll had agreed to wait until the first in-person meeting of the board. My surprise turned to dismay, however, when I watched your July 22nd Zoom meeting. If the deferral was to accommodate Toll rather than the public, that could have been communicated to residents from the beginning. I refer you back to your April 22nd Zoom meeting and the definitive assurance provided by your counsel to comments submitted by a resident of Newtown, Mr. Kaiser. Although you had a thoughtful discussion on July 22nd by expressing all your concerns and you're leaning so candidly on Zoom, you may have precipitated this response, this prompt action by Toll. The board may want to reconsider which matters it discusses in public versus private session, particularly the vote involve advice of counsel. I will submit my final comments on the conditional use variance at your August 26th meeting. So given what was said on July 22nd, that submission seems perfunctory. However, for reasons stated below, I am in the view that the board is not ready to render its decision on this matter. I ask the board to consider additional working sessions before its August 26th meeting. During the July 22nd meeting, there were a number of questions asked about the by right plan. Neither the members nor council knew how many houses could be built by Toll Brothers by right. Answers given were 160, 140, 65, 20 to 25 more, even more than that, and a God, yeah, additional amount of homes. There was also a comment that the lot size and the conditional use variance already complied with the ordinance. In contrast, I had previously read in the Newtown patch that the number of units was 61, but the comments submitted by Mr. Kaiser for the April 26th Zoom meeting, Mr. Kaiser said that it was one house for every 3 acres, which would be no more than 50 houses for a 152-acre tract. By not knowing this number, I'm concerned that the board is so wary of a by right plan that it may not have fully weighed the pros and cons of this alternative. The board expressed its reservations about losing its say over the process, but I did not hear inquiry of that offsetting rights the township would have instead. Rather, I sensed the board members were hesitant to ask follow-up questions after hearing it was obviously so undesirable. I believe you should have a private working session where the members are presented with a comprehensive analysis of the parameters, both good and bad, of the by right alternative. In weighing pros and cons of this alternative, you should also consider what the neighboring homeowners want. You could ask the residents on Twining Bridge if they prefer this cluster of homes versus the homes spread out on 3-acre lots. if that is the correct measure. You could also explain where the egress would be. If you do not want to hold a separate hearing, you can talk to the residents who previously submitted comments. Your council indicated in the July 22nd meeting that you know who they are. Lastly, I'm sure there's a point where Toll would prefer to build a by right rather than under this variance, assuming they have the legal right to do so. The question is whether the current proposal by Toll approaches that point, or whether you still have an opportunity to address the meritorious objections of residents to the current proposal, otherwise density, traffic, flow, runoff, by denying the variance. You can also only answer that question after you've fully vetted what Toll is legally entitled to do and the pros and cons to the township and its affected residents. Thank you for hearing my submission.
Okay, that's it for public comment?
I got one more.
Oh, okay. Good.
This is from Steve Fansteel, 296 Sentinel. Question, I believe we all agree that the voice of Newtown residents is a critical part of the zoning process, especially for decisions that will impact our community very broadly in a very substantial way. Given that you have appropriately shifted meetings online due to the pandemic, how will you ensure the voice of our residents is still heard prior to making a final decision? I do not believe it is within the spirit of the decision-making process to exclude further comment from Newtown residents, especially given the long absence since prior discussions around the proposed Toll Brothers development. Best regards, Stephen Fansteel. And that's, actually, I have one more that just came in. This is from Dave Riggs, 8 Providence Court. Given the public interest in the proposed development, as can be attested by many participants at prior meetings, the 826 meeting should also be open to residents, either in person or by participation in Zoom. Why would the board voting on a plan that was not approved by the Planning Commission? The plan presented by Toll, which was approved by the Planning Commission, is not the same one presented at the initial Board of Supervisors meeting, even taking into account the multiple revisions after that. Should the final plan by the Planning Commission be the same one the board takes action upon? The notice of the 826 by Toll, I believe, was not properly given. I believe the requirement is by certified mail. The numbers given by Toll for permeable space was miscalculated. Toll proposes to only use 1/3 of the full property, but uses all the property in the calculation. And that's all the public comment I have.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Moving to, well, you could address this at old business. I mean, this is public comment. We usually don't have discussion when people come up to the podium.
I'm not discussing the points made. I just want to know if these comments are available to all the board members. I don't know if I received all of these.
These comments were submitted to the comments at Newtown, PA.
Comment on YouTube.
Yes, are they available for the board members to look at?
Yeah, they're public record, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to police report. Chief Hearn.
Good afternoon, everyone. July 2020, we logged in 20,480 miles of patrol service, documented 1,566 calls for service. Obviously, we're still under COVID-19 precautions, even though we're still in green, so please keep that in mind. We had 20 arrests for the month of July, 2 which included theft, fraud of over $400,000 from Bucks County Community College. And I'd like to commend Detective Bartle for his investigative skills by bringing both them offenders into custody and recovering a large amount of money back for Bucks County Community College. In addition, we had 1 weapons and narcotics violations as a result of a vehicle investigation. We had 2 thefts, one involving a scam of a mortgage and a contractor. We had 3 possessions of narcotics, 1 assault, which was domestic related, and we had 11 DUI arrests. There were 8 new cases referred to detectives. We have 56 crashes, 11 injuries, 20 non-injuries, and various other factors. We had 148 citations were issued, including 51 warnings issued. Our truck enforcement initiatives are back in full swing again. We operated in Upper Makefield Township, Newtown Borough, and in Newtown Township. In Newtown, we inspected 16 apparatus, issuing 4 citations, 6 warnings, placed 1 vehicle out of service and 1 driver out of service. We're continuing to utilize the grant funding from the state with our aggressive driving initiatives that'll run through August 23rd. For public service announcements, on 7/23, we held our first town hall meeting. I want to thank everyone who attended, including our Board of Supervisors. There was a low turnout due to COVID restrictions, the limitations of the room, as well as the school board meeting was also scheduled for that same night. There was great dialogue between myself and the people in attendance, so I greatly appreciate their input. I'm continuing to offer to any HOA in Newtown Township, any business association in Newtown Township that have an interest in having myself or a member of my agency attend their meetings, please reach out to us or our headquarters and we'll make the appropriate arrangements so we have a dialogue and ongoing community partnership with our residents in our township. It was mentioned to me about possibly having a night out on October 6th. We are looking into that. Middletown actually has a large night out event in Middletown Township. However, they hire 20 to 25 officers after talking to their chief of police and other factors that come into play with that. So I'm not so sure we're going to be able to do that for October 6th for Newtown Township, but I just wanted the public to be aware that we are engaged in the community nonstop. Our Newtown Community Welcome Day is our community local event that we house. Unfortunately, it was canceled due to COVID this year. We're up at Wrightstown for the Grange Festival for 5 full days. We have a truck event that's usually held that was also canceled due to the COVID. COVID's putting a hamper on our community relations outreaches, but we'll continue to do what we can to engage the community. Point of information for the board members and for our public. Although we would have preferred at making an official presentation at a live board supervisors meeting, I did present service awards to 2 of our supervisors. Corporal Sean Parag received his 20-year certification, 20 years of service on February 28th, and Sergeant Daniel Bell has completed 25 years of completed service with the Newtown Township Police Department. Both presentations were made in cooperation with their squads when they were working. I don't want to wait too long to recognize these officers for their outstanding service. So I just wanted that to share with the board. There is one additional service award being presented next week on August 11th to Sergeant Frank Ambrose, also with 25 years of service. So your officers are continuing to perform in optimum levels. They're still dedicated to Newtown Township and our residents, and we'll be happy to engage any public at any time they need me. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the chief?
I just have a quick one. The numbers you gave us, the stats that you provided, was that for Newtown and Wrightstown?
No, sir. Yes, sir. Our stats combine both Newtown and Wrightstown. Yes.
Thank you.
Chief, I have a couple of questions. You mentioned HOAs and business associations. I know at the July 23rd meeting, several residents suggested also meeting with community in churches and synagogues. Is that also?
Yes, definitely. Yes, any religious institution in our township that would like us to come and attend their services and talk to their congregants, I'd be more than happy to do so.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that.
Thank you.
I don't know about October 6th. I don't know if you need any extra resources, but I don't know too much about that, but anything that you could do to, get out there, because all these other activities that you've been doing have been canceled due to COVID. 19, whatever it is. So whatever you can do to get out there would be appreciated. But I have one question about the police report. I'm trying to learn more about the incidents that you report. And for example, you reported 43 suspicious activity incidents for the month of July. And you have these UCR codes to try to identify exactly what that is. I don't know if I don't want to put you on the spot, but it looks like these incidents have to do with miscellaneous crimes against property. Is that something you recall in terms of what suspicious activity is going on?
John, if you're reporting we have 43 jobs, I would have to research each particular assignment. Suspicious activity can be anything from somebody calling the 911 call in for service to investigate an open property, a swinging door, somebody walking down the neighborhood that don't belong in the neighborhood or feel that they don't belong in the neighborhood. We would actually document that as suspicious activity.
So, I was just curious as to the latter of how many people were reporting suspicious people walking in their neighborhood versus, somebody doing something suspicious in somebody's backyard, something like that.
That's actually sent out to our Board of Supervisors on their weekly police report. I don't believe we had any in the last few weeks. About 4 weeks ago, I think we had one. It comes and goes. Sometimes we want the neighbors to call us if they feel there is something suspicious, because they know more than we do regarding what happens and transpires in their neighborhood. It's up to us to determine whether or not an investigative stage would need to be happen when we get there.
Okay, it's just a lot of residents have been asking about, what kinds of incidents the police respond to. I mean, obviously, you've been reporting every month. You've been telling everybody about these incidents. I hope they tune in and learn more about what kinds of things that our police department is dealing with. Thanks very much.
No problem. Thank you, John.
Any further questions for the chief? Seeing none. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank
Great
you, sir.
job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Onward to the ESD report, and that's Chief Forsythe.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to report on the month of June for emergency services. We had a total of 107 calls for service, 1 building fire, 2 dwellings, 1 vehicle fire, 2 brush fires, 3 service calls. Included in these 3 service calls were 2 cliff rescues at Tyler State Park and 1 assist a homeowner. We had 63 EMS calls, 10 good intent calls, 23 fire alarms, and 2 outside wire calls. For inspections, we have tried to reinstitute our annual fire safety inspections. We've completed 6 in the township and 4 in the borough. For training, emergency services had 84 hours of training for the month of June. The Fire Association had 160 hours of training for the month of June. I've included in the monthly report now where our calls for service are going by municipality. Our highlighted incidents for June, we have participated in the drive-by graduation ceremony at Council Rock. We participated in the move-up parade at Newtown Elementary, and we participated in a graduation ceremony at the Child's Well. That's our report for the month of June. I would also like to report from emergency management that we're in the process of starting all the reimbursements. So far, we've submitted a grant to the Fire Commissioner's Office for the state of Pennsylvania for $27,466.72. PEMA and FEMA, it looks like our grant is going to be around $20,000 for reimbursement. And we're putting together a list of reimbursements possibly from the county right now. It looks like it will be in excess of $12,000. So we're looking at around $52,000 or $53,000 that we're submitting right now for reimbursement. And I will keep everyone advised to where that goes. That's my report for June.
Any questions for the chief?
Chief, how much was it you requested from the Bucks County?
It looks like it's going to be around $12,000. It's the legal fees and the log me in fees and different things that the township manager and I are putting together to try to get reimbursement for.
Thanks. I was writing and I missed it.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, chief, seeing none. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great job.
Great day.
Okay. No minor approvals, no public hearings. We'll go into reports of committees, boards, and commissions. And we have Mr. Peters here from the Economic Development Committee. Mr. Peters.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the time to address the board. I'll be reporting on the time from pretty much from mid-June onward when we started our reformation of the committee. We've maintained weekly meetings on Zoom with committee members attending, and also on a couple of meetings we've had specific guests on, including July 16th of 2020. We had the COO of Bucks County, Margie McKevitt, on, where we discussed grant opportunities, the second round of CARES funding, and then also what some other township economic development committees are doing currently to help. One of the things we have identified is that we're in a time when it will be advantageous for a lot of businesses of all sizes to consider relocating while they're restructuring their businesses, and that's something that that we're examining and looking into and considering all options, including tax incentives, LRTA as well. The township has distributed surveys, although the results have not been tabulated yet, although we're not up to the submission deadline yet for that. We've also been looking at new and inventive ways to disseminate information to businesses and also to residents concerning these programs that are out there to help businesses. We've been so far working in close cooperation with the NBA and the NBCA, the Newtown Business Association and the Newtown Business Commons Associations, to disseminate information to businesses locally. And we're also looking into using other ways to disseminate information and out to member businesses as well. Let's see here. I believe that is it. Some of yes, I believe that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Peters?
I had a question. One of the things that I found interesting that you guys were discussing at your meetings, and that relates to the mission of the Economic Development Committee, is long-range goals of getting more businesses to Newtown. And one of the things that was mentioned, and I don't know if we discussed this before at a board meeting, but so-called LRTA, L-E-R-T-A. Can you explain a little bit more what kind of discussion you had about that?
Sure. Yes. LRTA is it's an incentive program for specific parcels of land that was, what we're looking at, and how it originally got into the conversation was that Northampton Township recently made some local news with a LRTA program that they had, and documents were sent over to our committee, and I believe they were subsequently uploaded discussing the details of Northampton Township's LRTA program.
Yeah, so this essentially is for economically challenged parcels of land, or whatever you might call it. It's sort of a program to reduce taxes as an incentive to get businesses to locate in those areas. And I think one of the areas discussed was the business commons. Has there been any follow-up to that or get more information about that?
Well, mainly seeing as the purpose of it is to incentivize redevelopment of aging properties. We've submitted the documents, and that's something that we're currently in the process of continuing discussion on for that or any other areas.
You submitted documents? What documents are you talking about?
I did not submit documents. What I was saying was that documents were submitted to our committee from Northampton Townships. That way we could review those and then introduce that into conversation in our committee. So that way we could begin to look at those areas and look at what are some of our options for those parcels.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't been on the board long enough to know all the history, but I thought there was something like that Newtown Township had offered to the aircraft satellite company out on the bypass.
Yes. Yeah.
You know about that, right, Phil?
Yeah.
Is this a similar kind of thing, you think, or?
Well, let me just, in regards to Lockheed Martin and the township of any relief of tax, property tax, as we know, the property tax that's assessed to the township is a nominal cost. The ones that they would have to go to and the ones that collect the most property tax of everyone in Newtown Township and Newtown Borough is the school board. So you'd probably have to get the school board's approval. And I believe Lockheed Martin, if maybe Mr. Sander could correct me if I'm wrong, got involved in some sort of litigation because the school board maybe had gone back on their promise to relief taxes to Lockheed Martin. I'm not sure, don't hold me at that, but I know there was some sort of litigation, but not with the township. It was with the school board. And in my impression, interpretation of this, causing Lockheed Martin to leave Newtown Township. So, yeah, there are things that can be offered to businesses, but again, our cost is nominal as compared to the school board. So I think the school board would have to be contacted with any kind of potential tax relief to businesses coming into Newtown. Also, this, I'm sorry, correct me, the acronym, what does it stand for?
The acronym stands for Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Act.
Okay.
I had to look it up too.
Okay, great. Now we all know.
It's designed for blighted. It's designed to bring any kind of development to blighted and undesirable areas. I know our other one of our other clients, the municipality of Norristown, has a LERTA in place. And to follow up, Phil, I don't recall the litigation between the school district and and Lockheed Martin. I do know that if there was interest in a LERTA, both the county and the school district, being the other collectors of real estate taxes, would have to join that effort as well.
Is this similar to, wasn't something done in Fairless Hills when the steel mill closed? Wasn't there some sort of program similar to this? Or
it's very possible.
But I don't.
Very possible. I don't know the details. I don't know the details on that. It's very possible that there were tax incentives to bring that project to Falls Township.
Okay.
Matt, one other thing. I know you guys spent a lot of time on, an idea of shutting down part of North Sycamore Street. And you discussed this at several meetings. I don't know, if that got anywhere or if now it's really in the hands of the Sycamore Street Association. It's not really a township thing.
And I would like to answer that. And before, if I may just address the chairperson, obviously we are still in the works of discussing this, and just for the record, I understand that Falls and other townships and other municipalities were brought into to discussion. That, you know, mainly the only one that we've been looking at in relation to our discussions is Northampton. Those other townships have not yet been considered or discussed. But yes, with the question of Mr. Mack, yes, we did have discussions that were introduced by one of the committee members regarding a few different immediate incentive ideas, more around the stage of kind of like Chief Hearn had said earlier, welcome day or something similar that could be done. But as discussion further, it was not the role of our committee to pursue that. But like you said, it would be more in the hands of a business organization or an individual business to pursue it further. As of today, as far as I know, none of those business organizations have filed permits to begin any of those proceedings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Peters? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your report.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment about the EDC if possible.
Oh, yeah.
We had a restructuring of chairpersons last meeting, and Matt is going to be our sole chair for the Economic Development Committee going forward. I wanted to make sure that we give him all the support he needs to go out there and, you know, help our township the best way we can. So let's rally around Matt and give him everything he needs. Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations on your chairmanship. Sole chairmanship, I'll say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks for all the work you guys are doing. Moving right along, board members' reports. I have nothing. I'll go right to our vice chair, Mr. Fisher.
And I can be brief. Just a couple of meetings that I've gone to in the last week or two since our last meeting. I attended the town hall with Chief Hearn and Mr. Oxley and Mr. Mack and Mr. Lewis. So that was one. Another was I attended the Newtown Fire Association meeting Monday a week ago. Seems a long time ago because I've been on vacation since. But I believe they're going to be coming before us at our work session in August. So the Fire Association will probably have some things to report to us at that point. And then my last point is that Finance Committee has not met in a couple of months, and they have scheduled a meeting for next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And they too would then like to have some of our time to discuss a communication plan at the work session on the 17th of August. And I believe Mr. Lewis can maybe help me with this. I believe eConsult Solution is planning on being a part of that meeting on the 17th.
That's correct.
So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mack.
Well, I'll try to be brief. I am supposed to be the liaison with the Council Rock School Board. I haven't attended any board meetings, but I just wanted to note something that was in the news recently, that the Council Rock School Board passed an anti-racism resolution. And one of the items on their actions was to have an external consultant conduct a diversity-focused curriculum and/or equity audit, and to create a systemic employee training program centered on diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. Now, this might have been in a response to a petition that was put out there and a letter by two graduates of Council Rock South High School. And I'm noting this because I know that when I participated in the Enough is Enough vigil at the Garden of Reflection hosted by the NAACP, Bucks County, and the Peace Center, one of the things that they were looking to made progress in is to create a K-12 curriculum to combat racism. So it's one of the pledges that I took and many other people took. But according to the former students who made this petition, this resolution by the Council Rock School District falls short, according to them. It doesn't address a number of things that they wanted it to be addressed, and especially about, for example, hiring more teachers of color to be in the school district. They also talked about the Indians' nickname for sports team at Council Rock North. That wasn't addressed in the resolution, and other things like that. So I just wanted to make you aware of this, and I've been talking to one of the school board members, Mr. Tate, who is, I believe, the chairman of the curriculum committee. And I'm going to try to see if I can somehow sit in on at least one or two of those committee meetings to see exactly what they are planning for the curricula. So that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the Park and Rec report. Excuse me. We have some upcoming camps and programs, including Creative Theater Camp, USA Archery Camp, Virtual Chess Camp, a Super Soccer Stars half-day camp, Engineering for Kids camps, and dog training. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Oxley.
Mr. Chairman, in light of Mr. Peters' report, I think that he has fulfilled my responsibility for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along, engineer had nothing on her agenda, so you notice she's not here today. I guess we move on to the solicitor's report. Mr. Sander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only item on our report today is the E30 convenience store gas station ordinance. This is an ordinance that was prepared, that was initiated by Newtown Township with the other jointure municipalities participating. Recall that all three jointure municipalities declared a municipal curative amendment, noting that our zoning ordinance was subject to challenge, and of course was challenged and still is under challenge, because it did not provide for the use that has been recognized by several courts of common pleas to be a use that must be provided for in a zoning ordinance, namely a convenience store combined with a gas station. So the ordinance was drafted. It has gone through numerous reviews and revisions by not only the Newtown Planning Commission, but Upper Makefield and Wrightstown's planning commissions and boards of supervisors. It is now in a form that both Upper Makefield and Wrightstown have determined is final form, and have both of those municipalities have recommended it to be sent to the Bucks County Planning Commission for the 30-day required review, and also advertised for enactment following that 30-day review. That is why the item is on your agenda today. If the board is of a mind, it would be a motion to authorize advertisement of the E30 ordinance amendment to the zoning ordinance as part of the municipal curative amendment.
Okay, do I have such a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Now, just to clarify, this is just to advertise. We will still get this ordinance back to discuss at another time, of which we can have questions in regards to what is in that ordinance. Is that correct?
Well, this is pretty close to the final thing. However, you're right, Phil. The board is not taking any action today to enact the ordinance. The ordinance is still open for questions and comments and potentially revisions if if any of the three municipalities feels that that is something that they want to see. By taking this action today, we are not enacting the ordinance. What we are doing is we're authorizing the ordinance to be sent to the Bucks County Planning Commission, plus advertised in the newspaper on 2 times, as required by the MPC, for each of the townships, each of the 3 townships, to hold a public hearing to consider the ordinance. So sometime probably in October, I would think, it will be advertised for this board to hold a public hearing at which the public will have input, questions, concerns, comments, and the board will be able to certainly discuss the ordinance. But at that point, it will be ready for consideration by the board to actually enact the ordinance. That is not what's happening yet.
Okay. So I just want to make it clear, this is not a final action. This is just part of the procedure. They were just voting to get it advertised so that the people know that we're not approving anything. We're just sending it for advertisement, which then sends it to the Bucks County Planning Commission and gets their input from that point on. So
That's absolutely correct.
any further questions on this this motion?
Mr. Sander, what is do you happen to know the deadline date that this needs to be completely done and authorized by all the townships?
Yeah, I believe, Dennis, that due to the 75-day tolling of ordinance and plan reviews due to COVID-19, I believe it is sometime in mid to late November, but I believe that the townships have all stated their intentions to get this done in the month of October.
I had a question. Does the procedure is that does the Joint Zoning Council really have to approve this to go to the Bucks County Planning Commission?
Well, I think that once the 3 individual townships authorize it to be sent to the Planning Commission and advertised, that sort of takes care of that. It's the solicitor to the Joint Zoning Council that actually undertakes sending the ordinance to the Planning Commission and drafting and placing the advertisement in the newspaper and scheduling it for public hearings. But the Joint Zoning Council itself, which is made up of the boards of supervisors of each of the 3 townships, doesn't have to take separate action. The action of those boards is what speaks for itself.
I'm sorry, the public hearings are at each municipality, right?
Separately, yes. Each
Separately.
municipality holds a separate public hearing on the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call the questions. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Sander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our report.
Okay, on to manager's report. Mr. Lewis. You're muted.
My apologies. General fund balance as of today is $2,014,269. Planned expirations before the board with no action required. I have three items under my report for the board's consideration. First of which had to do with the recommendation from the Planning Commission last meeting regarding the EAC comprehensive plan update recommendations. If you recall, the EAC did a pretty extensive list of proposed revisions that they would like to be sent to the Bucks County Planning Commission for incorporation into, or consideration to incorporate into the Newtown Area Joint Comprehensive Plan that they are working on currently. Those recommendations are in the packet and are the associated recommendation or a motion would be a motion to approve the Environmental Advisory Council Comprehensive Plan Update recommendations and send it to the Bucks County Planning Commission.
Okay, do I have such a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board on this EAC Comprehensive Plan Update recommendation? Okay, seeing none. Any questions from the public?
There are no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
No.
No? Okay, passes 4-1.
I'd like to commend them for their work on this. This was a very detailed project and process. So thanks to the EAC.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second item or third item under my report is consideration of the board to extend the agreement with Huff and Associates for an additional 3 years. Huff and Associates is the consultant that the township uses to prepare joint grant applications for Newtown Township and other municipalities in the intermunicipal agreement in accordance with DEP 904 grant provisions. There's no change to their proposed services, and typically these grants bring in about $80,000 a year in revenue from being awarded. So they keep track of all the tonnage and the weight of recyclable materials that is collected within the township. So the associated motion would be consideration to authorize a 3-year agreement with Huff and Associates to collect commercial and residential recycling and to prepare DEP 904 grant applications.
Okay, do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions from the board on this motion? And you're saying that usually this grant gets us about 80 grand, or?
Yeah, around there. This year was a little higher, it was 82, but it, yes, it's performed well in the past.
Great. Any questions from the public?
There is none.
All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Final item under my report is to purchase 2 mobile police radios. Please recall that we had a total allocated of $15,000 into the capital plan in the 2020 budget for the purchase of 3 radios, but due to the current existing COVID-19 situation, we're recommending to only purchase 2 radios at a price of $10,775. So the associated motion would be motion to approve the purchase of 2 police radios from Wireless Solutions through CoStars in the amount of $10,775.24.
Okay, do I have such a motion?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion. David Oxley, you seconded?
Sure.
Well, I
Second.
think you said it at the same time. That's why. Just
Yeah, no, I got you.
okay,
I'm
no problem.
picking up what you're putting down.
Now, just a question. You said we had budgeted 3 for 15,000.
Yeah.
So we're
Correct.
getting 2. I mean, so it's approximately 5,000 and some odd a piece.
Correct.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't we get that third one?
Well, the chief's still here, but the reason behind it is that I don't believe it's absolutely necessary at this time. So we're just going to move forward with the purchase of the 2.
Okay. And then for next year's period, are we going to have to double up on the purchases, or is it going to stay the same?
I think it just stays the same at 3.
Okay.
We haven't really worked out the details for next year just yet, but
Okay. Chief, did you want to say something? I see I'm muting yourself. I don't know.
I just wanted to be prepared in case you asked. The bottom line is without the authorization for the extra body being hired this year, I didn't need that third radio. So we're trying to be cost effective with our appropriations.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Any other questions for Micah or the chief on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about Public Works, Micah?
Sure.
I think in their report, it mentions that permanent paving repairs were done on Tamarack Court using the milling attachment for the repairs. So I guess they got that working?
Yes, it's working, and we're sort of making our rounds as we have time for.
Well, I would just mention Commonwealth Drive again, since we talked about that a couple of times.
Yep.
The other thing was,
Commonwealth Drive is going to be on the list of roads to be repaved next year. The extent of work on Commonwealth is more than that machine can handle. So we'll get there with the machine to do the permanent pothole repair on the ones that we can do, but that whole entire length of road will be on the road program for next year.
okay. I haven't been by there to really take a look at it, but maybe I will. It's also mentioned there that they received 17 resident concerns and complaints. I think it would be helpful to know what kind of complaints the Public Works Department is getting and how they're resolved, perhaps. I don't know if Mr. Shivoni, who's the Director of Public Works, can appear before the Board of Supervisors on a regular basis to answer these kinds of questions, or maybe include some more details in the report about those complaints. I'm just curious.
I can talk to him about adding it to the report.
Mr. Lewis, are those complaints because Public Works is not responding quick enough, or just like
No,
residents' concerns about certain things need to be done?
a majority of them are potholes,
Okay.
some stormwater stuff, trash in parks. It's not complaints that we are not performing. It's complaints, physical complaints, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, because I was going to say that, a good friend of mine lives in New Haven over on, I guess that's Lower Dollington Road or Twining Road, wherever, over that side. And he called Public Works and he got what he needed done relatively fast. So he was really impressed. So, I know that those folks over there, are working hard, and we've got a certain level of staffing. So tell them to keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mack, bills list.
Minutes, how about minutes?
And reports, yes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the July 22nd, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
In 2 seconds. Any questions from the board on the minutes? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the payment of our bills according to the bills list dated August 5th, 2020, totaling $215,838.42.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions from the board on the bills list?
I have one thing about there's a police car, a purchase of a Ford Explorer for $33,890. I know that previously we had approved 3 new vehicles for the police department for a total of around $144,000. Is this part of that? We haven't purchased any more than this vehicle this year yet, have we?
This is number 2.
This is number 2?
Yeah, the first was an administrative car, and this is the second patrol vehicle. So this now will be upfitted with the lighting and the radios and all that other stuff. So this is number 2 of 3. Ford is having an issue with sort of delays with their vehicles because of the COVID-19 situation. So that's why they're coming in sort of piecemeal instead of 3 at once.
So I shouldn't be looking to buy a Ford? Is that what you're saying? So there's another vehicle. You think that's going to be purchased this year or maybe delayed until next year, like the radio?
That'll be this year. It'll probably be, Chief, I don't recall what they said. I think they said maybe in a month or so it should be in.
I'm expect 3 to 4 weeks it should be in. It's already ordered, waiting for delivery.
Okay, thank you.
And just to know, we placed those orders for these vehicles before March when COVID-19 hit. So it's not like we can just cut them out right now. I mean, they're already been ordered and they're sort of accounted for.
Okay. Any other questions on the bills list from July 22nd? Seeing none, I call the question.
August 5th.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the minutes. That's right. August 5th. I don't have my glasses on. August 5th. Any questions, any further questions on the bills list? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Okay, finally, I move that we approve the interfund transfers as per the bills list dated August 5th, 2020, totaling $247,567.18.
Okay, I have a motion to have a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions from the board? Anything from the public? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Is that it, Mr. Mack?
That's it.
Okay. Second session of public comment. Anything come in? Public comment?
I have no additional public comments, Mr. Chairman.
On to old business. We have 2 items here on the agenda. The Human Relations Committee applications. Did we extend the deadline on this? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
It was extended to
Hold on.
July 31st, right?
Well, yeah. Well, can you address the chair if you have a question, Mr. Mack?
I'm sorry.
We're in the process of talking. Mr. Mack says it's been extended.
It was extended. Yes, correct.
Okay. So, I mean, what does anyone, I mean, so there's no action we're going to take today, rather, on finalizing these appointments until we reach that deadline, correct?
Well, the deadline's passed for the submission of the application. So I believe there's 4
Okay.
in the packet for the board's consideration of appointment.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Absolutely.
We received 6 applications. I mean, Olivia submitted 2 other ones recently that was after the deadline. I'm not opposed to accepting these applications, but I just wanted to note that there are 6 people who are interested.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I don't know what the procedure would be I don't know much about these people except what you read in their resumes. And so how do we appoint these people, decide who to appoint?
Well, do we, first of all, is everybody okay with anyone that's sent in a resume? I don't think we should really have a problem with that, but I'll just poll the rest of the board members. Everyone's okay? You can shake your heads if, I can see you.
Is your question if we have any objection to any particular person, or?
Well, any objections if anyone had gotten it in after the deadline?
Okay, I understand.
Okay. How many, I think, what do we have, 2 openings?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, we could go around the horn here, and if anyone has somebody that they want to nominate for that position, they can, and then we would just have to vote on the 2 finalists, so to speak.
May I say that I haven't had a chance to look at all of these in detail and discuss this maybe with some other people whose opinions I trust.
Sure.
So I move that maybe we do this at our next meeting. I don't know if you have to do this in an executive session to discuss each one, or, you know, in an open forum. I remember we used to do this in executive session, but I'm open to anything. I just need more time to look these applicants over. And one other thing I would like to say is that the commission itself is authorized to name 2 additional non-voting members of the commission. Since we have 6 people who are anxious to serve on the commission, it really would be a shame, you know, no matter which 2 we select, that the 4 others are going to be left out when they volunteered. And I'm just wondering if it's possible to modify or amend the ordinance establishing the commission to allow the commission to vote for up to 6 non-voting members. They're non-voting members, so it doesn't really impact the commission's decisions or anything like that. But I just think if people are going to be volunteering to help the township, that we should do everything we can to, you know, allow them to do that.
Wait, you don't want 6 non-voting members.
Why not?
Well, then what are they voting on?
They're not voting on anything. They're just,
6
you know,
members. We have a board of 5. So we're going to have 6 non-voting members on a board.
you're going to have a board of, yes, 5 commission members.
Well, you're talking about 11 people.
Yeah, why not?
Have you ever watched a school board meeting? They have 9.
I've seen meetings where they're,
in my opinion, if they're non-voting, they really have, they're not a member. They're really not, they're just people sitting there. I don't see where they would even have any kind of say if they're
they're
non-voting.
public. Anybody in the public can attend these meetings
Well,
and that they
absolutely.
have. And
You have 100. You can have 100 non-voting members. That would be called.
I'm not asking for 100. I'm only asking for 6. And you give them it's like you're recognizing them. They can say that they are a non-voting member of the Human Rights Commission. It's something that they can maybe feel proud about, and, you know, just to be recognized. That's all.
Well, my suggestion, if I may, since John, for one, doesn't feel that he's ready to, you know, make the actual appointment that we give ourselves some time. I was ready to go today, but that's fine. We can do it at our next meeting, and that way everybody has a chance to read. Maybe we should make sure that we know we're cutting off, so if we don't get any additional applications, and I'm not really in favor of having so many non-voting members. It would be fine with me if they want to have 2 non-voting members, but
Well, that's what they have now.
too big.
I'm just wondering what the harm is.
Well, there's no harm. We always have the capability of making reassignments at the next reorganization meeting, so we could always filter in and filter out, so to speak. I kind of agree that maybe the 2 are sufficient. To have 6 people as non-voting members, I mean, I don't know, maybe we should have 6 more on the planning commission, 6 more on the park and recs committee.
No, the only commission that has non-voting members would be the Human Relations
But
Commission.
non-voting members doesn't mean anything. Non-voting members, like I said, the audience are technically non-voting members. They have a say. They could come up and they could speak at the podium.
Well, why does the ordinance have specified non-voting members for the commission? There must be a reason. I haven't looked at it lately, but
Ask our solicitor, I mean, if he has any kind of interpretation of this.
Completely at the discretion of the board. It was a suggestion made in the ordinance that I think the board thought was a good idea to get additional input. I'm not sure if they're, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have the ordinance in front of me. Are they non-voting members or are they alternates?
They're non-voting members, it says.
So they're members of the committee, but they don't have a vote. They just have input.
Right.
I believe that's the way it was.
I mean, that's a completely at the discretion of the board. And I think, you know, I'm surprised to non-voting members. I'm not sure what they're there for. Usually when you have non-voting members, they're specialized persons who can provide input on specific areas that a board or committee may discuss. That, again, this is a completely at the discretion of the board, whether they want to have 0, 2, 6, 30. Every resident of the township is a non-voting member of the Human Relations Committee. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, I don't want to argue about it. I mean, it's up to the commission to name non-voting members, and I'm assuming they could vote them in and vote them out as they wish. So I'll leave it up to the commission then.
Yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense.
As a quick point of order, how difficult is it to change or amend a resolution if we wanted to go that route? Or if we felt we needed to?
I think this was I think this committee was enacted by ordinance, so we'd have to advertise an amending ordinance and only advertise it once and consider it at a public meeting.
Thanks.
Well, like I said, I don't want to cause more work than is necessary. We'll just talk to the commission members and see what they think about, you know, having people come in and out. I know people get busy, so they now have a list of people who they can call upon whenever they want. That's it for me.
All right. Second item on, well, let me ask the question, is everybody okay with postponing the votes on these members till the next meeting?
I'm okay.
Said you were ready. You're okay with going?
Yes. Yes.
All right, cool.
Yes, I'm ready. It doesn't mean everyone is.
Seeing no opposition, we'll just be ready to vote on the members at our next meeting, which is the next topic. Live meeting for the next end of August. How does the board feel like meeting live? Again, we'll have it at 7 o'clock, our regular live meeting time. It'll be in the municipal building. It'll be limited to how many seats we are allowed to have in that building at a safe distance, social distancing. So I'll just poll the board in regards to, would you like it like this, or would you like it at a new revised type of Zoom where people can enter, not all at one time. They could be in a so-called waiting room, from what I understand, and can enter and make comment when called on. So I'll throw that out for discussion.
Well, I'm okay with a live meeting at 7 o'clock. The advantage of that is that people are working and they will have opportunity to come to a meeting. I'm not sure, since we seem to need to have Zoom meetings during regular business hours, that may make it less convenient for some of the public to participate, even though I would like to have more participation in public in Zoom meetings. But so I'm okay with a live meeting.
Well, I'll just rephrase it. We could have this particular meeting, because I know it's going to have a somewhat of a controversial topic. If you wanted to have a Zoom meeting at 7 o'clock and or a live meeting, which would everyone prefer? And again, the Zoom meeting being with an updated format.
That's a tough question. I'm getting to like Zoom meetings, and but you know, I can't understand all the technicalities. Either one is fine with me. I'll go with whatever people want.
Is there extra cost associated with
Yeah,
doing a
well,
Zoom.
Mr. Lewis, but I believe we would hire a outside company that specializes in monitoring these types of meetings and letting people in. And so it's also they're a protection. They're like I'll say a firewall between us and the bombers, so to speak. If somebody were to bomb it, it would go to this particular staff of maybe one or two people that would intercept it. But Mr. Lewis, I don't know what the cost would be. Maybe Mr. Lewis has some sort of cost in regards to that.
If it would be the board's intent to include the public in Zoom meetings moving forward, I would ask for the board's permission to reach out to a consultant so that they could give us a quote on how much it would cost to run meetings in that manner. I myself am no way an expert on Zoom or the operation of it, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be. We have a fantastic staff that has stepped up in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis and has accepted the role that this consultant would then handle all of the commission, board meetings, et cetera, moving forward. So I guess the clarification I would like to get is, does the board want to permit the public into future Zoom meetings moving forward?
I have no problem with it. It's, again, I think the prior issue was the control, and I know our staff does an excellent job. But if these people can control any kind of future, again, to use the word bombing, interruptions, I think it would be good to have participation where people can raise their hand, come in and make a comment and go out, so to speak. My question is, if the board were to give you the authorization to do this, do we have some sort of range in what should be spent? I mean, I don't know what the cost would be, but if you were to come back and say, geez, there's some outrageous, $20,000 or something like that, should we have a cost range into what the township can spend in regards to this? And do you have any idea of what other townships may be paying for such a service that we could range it on that?
I don't have an idea of what other townships are spending on a consultant to run Zoom meetings at this time, which would be my sole. I have a name of a company that does it, but my intent would be to reach out to them and see what they would be offering. Obviously, we've scaled back on a lot of other things, and school boards and other towns are meeting in the way that we're currently meeting now. So obviously, as little as money as we can spend on a consultant to do these types of meetings would be preferable.
Well, I would be in favor, if we're going to continue to have Zoom meetings, I would be in favor of having it open to the public, as many other municipalities are doing that are surrounding us, doing without any problem whatsoever that I could see. I don't want to mention any names to get people in trouble, but you can reach out to them. And if you're going to talk to somebody to do this, I don't know how many people we can find, but if I find somebody that is knowledgeable in this area, can I point them your way, Micah, if we do this, so you can get maybe more than one estimate?
We can get as many estimates as I can get. I only know of one company that actually does this right now, and I would say that any consultant would be considered as long as there's no conflict of interest.
What do you consider a conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest would mean that a member of the Board of Supervisors or a member of his immediate family would have a financial or pecuniary interest in awarding a contract or hiring any of these firms.
Okay, thanks.
And to be clear, we're not talking about having a consultant in place for the August 26th meeting.
Well, yeah, if that's what
Going
it's
forward.
something we would have to move quickly on. I mean, I know of another township that handles this way, but they're also a larger township that they average probably 30 to 40 people every meeting that come up to say something. So, I mean, they're in dire need of doing it this way. But again, if Mr. Lewis were to get 2 or 3 quotes, does the board want to establish some sort of cost range of, you know, between 1,000 to 3,000 or so? I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Well, that's the point. We don't know what this request is. I'm assuming it's some kind of hourly rate. And if you're 2 hours, I mean, how much do you pay somebody per hour? You know, let's be realistic. You're not going to pay somebody $1,000 an hour. And
Well, yeah, no, that's understandable. But if you're the specialist and the only game in town, you either pay them or you don't pay them. I mean, they're going to
I
come.
bet
They're going to
some
come.
high
Sometimes it might not be an
schools.
hourly rate. Sometimes it might just be a flat
Yeah,
fee. I
flat
mean, if you're
fee.
talking about doing more than the Board of Supervisors, but every committee meeting as well. But
Well,
you know,
that's a
my
different
first
thing.
and what I'm in my thought process, you know, I know that because of the situation of what we have to discuss, and I know that there's certain members of the township in a particular community that are willing and wanting to let their voices be heard on this specific instance. Just do a live meeting and let them come in, and then, you know, we can go back to Zoom afterwards. Because for us to pay or commit to something like that, you know, we don't know the level of how much participation we're going to get in the future. So, and then I'm sure this consultant's going to want to have a contract where you're committed for a certain amount of time. So, I mean,
Well,
I'm thinking about dollar and cents perspective, and you know, we know where we are, and we know what we have to be mindful of, and we just have to think about it prudently. So the quotes I'm okay with, but I just put that out there so for people can think about it from another perspective as well.
well, I don't think we should have a contract. First of all, the Human Relations Commission and other, the Planning Commission, they're running these Zoom meetings and they've been having guests. Sometimes there might have been one case where there's a problem, but you know, at the Human Relations Commission meeting in June, there was 25 people. There wasn't one single problem. It was run by Amir, who is the chairperson of the commission himself, and he used all those features that you're talking about. You can even hire him. He is a programming consultant already, unless that's a conflict of interest, but I don't know if he's available in any case. But you know, you can hire some company on a one-time basis to try them out before you commit to anything long-term.
To move the discussion forward, though, you ask about this upcoming meeting on the 26th. I'm okay with a live meeting. I mean, I guess if I had to go for the ideal, I'd say we do a Zoom meeting at 7 o'clock and we got our bases covered. But I'm okay with a live meeting at 7 o'clock. I mean, I would just hate limiting. It would be difficult if we had to limit to the first 20 people who could sit in those seats, and there might be more people that want to be there.
Well, they come at 6:30. Get your seat.
There you go.
And not to, you know, it's hard also to, if a person comes to, what are you going to do? Throw them out because there's other people waiting? I mean, other people can also probably hand in or email in their request for a question. I think if it was done in an orderly manner, my suggestion would be after a person asked their question and got it answered, maybe they would leave the room to let someone else come back in, and do some sort of like a rotation, you know, among the people that are in that room. But these are all things that we could address going forward. We could discuss it at our open discussion at our next work session. But I mean, in the meantime, if the board wants to have a live meeting for this occasion, let's do it. But I think we're still going to have the question of, do we want people in the future to enter our Zoom meetings? And do we want to address that going forward? Because if that would be solved, I don't see no reason why we cannot have Zoom meetings the way we're going right now, as opposed to risking anyone coming in contact with someone that may have COVID, doesn't even know it, or that situation.
And Mr. Chairman, I would just like to point out as well that all of the other committee meetings and board meetings are open to the public. It's just the Board of Supervisors live meeting that's being broadcast over cable is not, because of the potential for the Zoom bombing.
Well, I know that, for example, Wrightstown, also has their meetings and broadcast live. And as a matter of fact, so they haven't had any problems. And I think we could do it if you had somebody who's knowledgeable to keep this secure. First of all, I think it's possible to have registration the way Wrightstown does. People who want to attend the meeting, I'm talking about a Zoom meeting, they register and they get a unique link that only they can use, and they're recognized in the waiting room, just like you said. So there is, I know a little bit about the technology, and I know it's really feasible to make it very secure. It's just, we can hire somebody to make sure that they know what they're doing. And I think we can have some pretty good, successful Zoom meetings. And I know we've been receiving a lot of comments from people who express concern that the public is not invited. And, if we're going to continue to have these Zoom meetings, we need to do something.
Okay. Let's, what do you want to do about the 26th? Kyle?
I'm good with live in person.
Okay. Dennis?
I prefer not to spend extra money if we don't have to.
Okay.
Not sure how much it's going to cost.
Well,
but-
if we were to proceed with Zoom meetings, are you okay with people emailing in questions?
Yes.
Okay. Dennis, I'll pose the same question to you.
Live meeting is fine.
Okay, and going ahead with Zoom, how would you like to see that happen?
With Zoom, I'm willing to have and allow Micah to check out what it would cost before I want to make a decision there about how much. If it's a couple of $1,000s, that would be one thing. If it's $20,000, anything 5 figures or above, I'd be a little worried about that.
Okay. David Oxley?
I'm okay with live. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Going further with Zoom, how would you like to see that?
I'm open to looking at quotes, but as Mr. Fisher just said, I agree with him. We'll have to see the numbers, but if it's going to be something that's just, it's not cost effective, then I'm not going to be willing to vote for that. Thank you.
And Mr. Mack, I think you're okay with the live and then improving our Zooms as we go forward. So,
Yes.
there's no harm in Mr. Lewis getting some pricing. We're going to have to make the final vote if we want to have it done or not. So I don't know, Mr. Sander, do we need any kind of motion to send Mr. Lewis out there to look for any kind of quotes?
I would make a motion to authorize Mr. Lewis to explore the potential and to get quotes from qualified persons or companies to operate our Zoom meetings.
Okay. Do I have such a motion?
I would make that motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further questions? Kyle, would you be okay with him just getting pricing and then we decide?
Yeah. I'm totally good with that. Absolutely.
So, okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Mr. Lewis, I guess you have your direction on that. Now, when should we, well, the other question is, if we're trying to do this by the 26th meeting, when should Micah be giving us this information? Because Mr.
Well-
Senator, we would have to vote on this. So how would we go about that procedure?
Yeah,
Let's
if you
not
will.
rush into it. I think you should have, people, we're okay with a live meeting on the 26th. Why don't we just go with that and not worry about,
Well, on the 26th, we could vote on if we want to proceed with any kind of cost.
right.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, you would have to take action in public on that. Of course, if it was something that couldn't wait and say COVID just explodes in the next 2 weeks and nobody's going out and we don't want to do our live meeting on the 26th, we could authorize the engagement of a company and then ratify that at that meeting. So there is a way to do it if you need to do it.
Okay, very good. All right. Guess that, any other old business? Any new business? Okay, any need for an executive session, Mr. Sander? Okay, seeing none, I guess without objection, we are adjourned for the day.
Have a good one, guys.
Goodbye.
Stay safe.
Take care, everybody.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.